Captain Joe, how's it going?
We're good. Thanks for having me. I've got a lot of interesting info that has popped up,
Yeah,
and
what's going on?
well, I found that marker on Honeymoon Island going on 3 years ago.
Okay, what
Uh,
marker is that? Explain that.
it was a rock hand carved marker on
Okay.
Honeymoon Island that was facing due east.
Okay. Is
We
that
didn't.
that
We didn't.
picture you sent me?
Yes, that's the
Okay.
picture I sent you. I didn't think anything of it. Snapped a bunch of pictures. Fast forward, we end up on Fox 13 News because it was very interesting to them and the whole history of Louis Aury, as you well know, and it went all the way up to Beyond Oak Island twice, and
Yep.
which was good. Well, I didn't really think too much of that, and I'm like, what could this possibly be? We looked at a book, we found the markings, and we're all excited. And then it kind of went dry. I
Mhm.
get a phone call one day from a man named Captain Sam Corey.
Okay.
I don't know this man. He doesn't know me. And he says, he messages me and says, I need to talk to you. I said, okay. He said, not on Facebook. I'll call you. I said, okay, here's my number. He said, I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to believe this. I said, what? He said, you guys missed it. I said, what do you mean we missed it? He said, can you meet me at Wall Springs Park in Palm Harbor, Florida? I says, yeah, I've been there before. And actually, Mike Gattuso did his exit interview there.
Okay.
Yeah, and Maddie Blake did too.
Yep.
In that last scene, that's where they were. I was obviously in Ybor City, but all things aside. So I meet him there. And he walks me up to this big spring. There's a giant spring. And in the beginning of the TV show, I said, there's only two places to get water. One is Wall Springs, and the spring is too far inland to get a boat in there.
I remember
The
you
other
talking about
is, the other is Anclote, obviously a Spanish well, where you could get a big boat in.
that. Right.
Then he holds up the picture from Fox 13 News, which came out of my cell phone, and he goes, you found this on the east end of Honeymoon Island, did you not? I said, yes, I did, real close to the beach area.
Mhm.
And he said, it's facing east, right? I said, yeah. He said, look at the rock, look at the carving, and look at the arrow in front of the carving. He said, Aury put that marker there so he'd know where to go 204 years ago in
Wow.
up to that spring to find where he buried stuff. Well, let me tell you, the hair on our arms stood up because I looked at this rock 110,000 times and never picked it up until this man did.
Wow.
So needless to say, we have to go the right way,
Mhm.
and we do go the right way. And I talked to a park ranger, and they're pretty excited. Well, said another ranger calls me, the head ranger, and he says, you need to fill out a permit application. I said, absolutely. I said, I'll explain everything we want to do.
Mhm.
All right, I do this. I hand deliver it down to the office. Hand deliver it. 4 days later, I get a scathing email from the same person calling us collaborators and prohibiting us from GPRing in the park.
Oh, wow.
Now, I advise them, even in the permit, we are not digging anything. We have a good idea where something might be.
Mhm.
We want a GPR only. And when we GPR, we will report it back to you of our findings, and
Right.
you can make the ultimate decision. Take it from there, whatever you want to do.
Right. And that's generally the protocol for that sort of thing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So then the Suncoast News gets word of it. And Pat Tillman, real nice reporter, she did an article on me about 1.5 years ago at Anclote. So I met with her and I told her, showed her the pictures, that you have, and told her, look, there's no doubt about it. If you go to Google Earth and you blow up Google Earth, where I found that marker, I have the latitude and longitudes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's on the east side of the island.
Mhm.
And guess what? It faces Wall Springs Park. Honeymoon Island is in Dunedin, Florida. Wall Springs Park is due east of it. Well, then we find out, we asked each other the question, why would Aury hide anything there? Well, again, it gets back to after the Beyond Oak Island show. Well, think about it. The guy was all about burying stuff around springs. The storms come, the storms go. The springs will always be there. That spring could
Right.
have been there for 1,000 years. We don't
Right.
know.
Trees and markers like that are going to go away.
They're
When
going to go away. Exactly. This will always be there. So as of this morning, it's out there. And I know you're friends with me on Facebook. If you look at Facebook, my post today, I will show you a very, very detailed photo of those markers on that rock. We enhanced it, and it's pretty good looking. It also is on the suncoastnews.com Hit Pasco section in its front page story, and a big picture of that, and obviously of me and a couple other things. The surprising thing about this find is that it can truly be a part of Pinellas County history.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I, for one, understand why they would be alarmed at us wanting to GPR that area, but we made it very clear on that permit, we're not going to dig anything. We will bring that to you and get your approval for the next step of what you want to do, if anything. But we have a pretty good idea of what is there and where it is actually.
Did you go back to them with that? And are they going to let you explore this a little bit,
Well,
or you haven't been back?
They have not answered me yet. But again, the newspaper article, their worst nightmare, came out actually this morning. And of course, you know, I think what's going to happen at Wall Springs Park is the inevitable. Hope they have enough. Hope they have enough parking spaces in overtime, because they're going to need it.
Yeah, I see it right here. I just pulled it up. Palm Springs or Palm Harbor treasure hunter has his eye on Wall Springs Park.
Did you see the photo in there online?
That's
The rock. There's a picture of the rock with the markings, and you can clearly see the horseshoe. You can see the well. It's clearly on that picture. We are professionals. We are not collaborators.
Right.
We're crying out loud, as you well know. I've been on myself 3 worldwide TV shows, Fox 13 News once, ABC Action News twice, and now the Suncoast News twice.
Right.
I think that might hold a little clout.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, if something was found there, do you know how many how many tourists that come to Pinellas County? Hey, we need to go and see where that treasure hunter guy that lives there found that treasure.
Yep.
I mean, it would be huge for Pinellas County.
Yeah, it definitely would be huge.
History is history. You know me well enough that I'm about more than just the gold and the silver and the emeralds. Mm-hmm. Artifacts, they're worth as much to me as gold and silver.
Yep. And the history behind it all, too.
Where did this come from? Did someone die holding this? Was it in a battle? Was it a useful tool? You know, there's so many different things that pop up out of history's treasures that we find that are worth zero to someone, but to us and a museum, they're worth a whole story of time past.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's just say that you get the green light to at least go and look. What's the next step?
If we get the green light to go and look, which we're obviously not giving up on, the next step is we will get Mr. Catuzzo up here from the Real Treasure Hunters, which you know Mike.
Yep.
We will get him and his expensive GPR portable unit up here, and we will GPR the areas that we feel are good, viable possibilities.
Okay. And then we'll take that data and then go back to the park.
Right. With that data and say, look, you know, here's what we found. You know, how do you want to go forward with this? If they don't want to go forward with it, at least we found it. You know what I mean? I'd be disappointed, but
this stone, I'm looking at the picture of the stone. Where is this stone in your possession now, or is it still there?
No,
or where it was? Or?
No, it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, that stone is still there, and I have the lat and longitude coordinates to walk it to go find it. It was found by accident. We're not that smart. We were out there looking around and in the trails and looking for anything odd, marks on trees, the usual things that we do.
Right. Yep.
You know, and came across it and really didn't pay too much attention at first. And then I got to thinking about it, and I said, you know what? Let me go back there and get a second peek at that. Something looks off. And of course, then when we saw that someone hand chiseled those in there, and that piece of limestone didn't really belong where it was, it wasn't on the shores of the beach. Well, that told me right there that, there's something more to this. And fast forward 3 years later, Captain Sam Corey, which you can put in the show, he's become with us now. I'm very close with him. He was kind enough to come to me and said, Joe, I think I'm onto something here that you guys completely missed. And again, as you well know, the more eyes you get, the more apt you are to find something.
Oh yeah, for
that's
sure.
going to work. You might see something I missed. I might see something you missed, and everyone there, in fact.
Yeah.
I mean, people have reached out over this. We just recently got a call from a guy in Sarasota that owns a salvage company. And he wants to donate a salvage boat to help us up on our anclote find up there on the cannons. And
what's going on with that, with the cannons now?
Well,
and in Anclote Island, that's Anclote Park.
Yeah, well, it's Anclote Island State Park.
That whole entire island is a state park, right? So that's like
here's the best part. Here's the best part. Through the contacts and through being out there, from a special thanks to people just like you. Believe it or not, Dutchman Key, which is on the east side of Anclote.
Okay.
There's only a small creek that goes between the island and there. I know the man that owns Dutchman Key, and he owns the whole northeast end of Anclote.
Wow.
Now, why is this important? It's now private land. He's owned it a number of years.
That's great.
Oh, it gets better. He built a pavilion on the north end of the island. When we got to talking, and he told me, he said, Joe, there was some crazy guy that was out there that left scaffolding, and he left this big barge boat with a crank on it. And he said he was looking for something. He said there's holes in the ground that you could put a small Toyota car in.
Wow.
And he left all this stuff there when he took, I can't tell you his name because I don't have his permission, but he's a prominent person in the area. And he said, it cost me $6,000 to get this stuff all out of there.
Wow.
And I said, well, guess what? I know who it was. He says, really? I said, yeah, his name was Bill Bacon.
Oh, wow.
And he was from Tarpon. Bill would take any extra money that he had from sponge fishing. He was a sponge diver. And he built this boat with the lift on it and made up his own rigging device to go on that northeast end of Anclote Island because he believed the cannons were there.
Wow. Now, these would be the cannons from Louis Aury's boat?
Yeah, from Aury's boat. Either the Bologna or the Mexican Congress.
Okay, so how many did he have? Do you know?
How many boats?
Yeah, how many ships did Louis Aury have?
When he was here, 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had the Bologna, he had the Mexican Congress, and he had the Isabelita, the slave ship.
Oh, wow.
Until he sold it.
Right. Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah, you've talked about that story before. Wow.
But the interesting thing about this area is we're going to set up an expedition in the next month, right after Christmas. He wanted to wait. And he'll be going with us. And another person has come forward and donated a pull-behind GPR missile.
Oh, wow.
Well, we're going to need it more than just my sophisticated stuff, which mine isn't bad, and it gets more interesting. On the southwest side of Anclote Key, Captain Sam ran into a guy who is a crabber.
Okay.
All this talk about the big anchor and the ballast stones and that. Well, this guy gets to talking to Captain Sam and says, I've got traps right over what's left of that anchor.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Now, this is a 6,000-pound anchor. He says it's still sticking out of the coral about probably 5-6 feet up.
Wow.
Well, it used to be 12 or 13, and the water's about 10 feet deep there, better now. And again, that was in one of the clues with Aury of hiding the cannons, over there, not in view of that anchor, so he could come back and dig them back up. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, this Bill Bacon guy, he was dead set that it was on the northeast end. And keep in mind, northeast end of Anclote might have been underwater 200 years ago.
Right.
That could have been 10, 12 feet deep.
Right. Wow.
And we can't get a hold of Bill Bacon because word has it he did get arrested federally.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's a state property. It wasn't owned by this other investor yet. And this is going back probably 15 years ago. This stuff's been sitting there rotting away. And he went back to Indiana and he died.
Oh, wow.
So there's no way we can get a hold of him. But, I would love to spend 10 minutes and talk with him, but that's not going to happen. But still,
right.
We've got 2 good possible spots to look there. And while we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Wall Springs, I feel very confident that we would GPR something of value there. Just with the clues that we found, it all makes sense,
Yeah. Wow.
Another thing that we didn't realize that came to light lately was, did Aury actually have buildings on Anclote as well? Well, the word was always no. And I did not know this until 3 weeks ago when I was talking to the owner of Dutchman Key. If you Google Earth, Dutchman Key, Florida, Tarpon Springs or whatever, it'll come up. In the middle, there's a dark spot. That dark spot is a spring that is about 40 feet deep. And guess what? It used to be fresh water. So now you have it. Now we know Aury could have survived on Anclote as well as having to survive on Honeymoon Island.
Right.
And we also think that if, in fact, he spent most of his time on Honeymoon, how did he get water? Well, the Indians that lived there had these flat barges that they could put 10 braves on, and they'd go with the tides. He could have paid them to bring water out to the island from that park. Right. Very, very, very possible. So,
how far is it, roughly? How far is it from the park to the island?
On a rowboat?
Or if you were bringing that water out.
If you were rowing on a small boat, rowing 8-10 minutes.
Oh, wow. That's not far at all then. You could see it.
If you had motorized, you could get there in 3.5.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't get my big boat in there, but we could get smaller boats, which we have that's another thing. We've restored a shallow water boat. So it's ready to go. And something that we can get in, over the oyster beds and whatever, and won't get hurt.
So I'd love to come down and check this out.
You're more than welcome. You text me when you're here, and you're included. You're in.
All right. Well, let me know when you're going to actually when you're going to do some. You're going to go out there and look around.
Okay.
Have you had anybody now the cannons, are they underwater or just underground on land?
Well, here's the thing. There's 2 actual stories. Number one, why was Bill Bacon on the northeast end of that island? And why did he spend so much time and money and effort? People have said that Bill said that he found the cannons there and couldn't get them out of the ground. Again, that's where Mr. Gattuso comes in.
Right.
We need the weather to break here. It's been windy and too stirred up. And because keep in mind, it's unprotected water. You know what I mean? You're not like on an intercoastal. So you got to pick your day. You don't want to get caught out there in big swells. Right. Not that it's all that far, but 5 miles is 5 miles. Yeah. It could be 15 and 6-foot swells. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what we want to do is plan a trip out there. But again, I'm the owner of those properties is going with us. Now, on the southwest side of Anclote, where the crab line is, we have the lat lawns. So once we get a good day, we're going out there with my GPS, because I have down view, side view, which is pretty high end good.
Yep.
And we also have a used, but we're not rich. We have a used underwater camera.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to drop that over the side. Once we get to those lat lawns, I'll throw a jug and then we'll back an anchor up to it. And then we'll drop that camera and look around. Because again, if we find the anchor, which Captain Dave knows where it is, because his crab line's right over it. He says, no, I've known about it 3-4 years now. I've always wanted to dive it, but I'm not a diver, and it's too deep to snorkel. And I said, okay.
I'm getting my certification. So,
oh, you're going to enjoy that. I've had mine since 1980.
Yeah. Are you going to dive on it?
Oh, hell yeah. Once the water warms up, right now the water's 69 degrees.
Get out there.
Yeah, well, you guys live up north. Hey, when I got my certification, it was in the quarries in Ohio.
Yeah, wow.
And we were diving in April.
Well, somebody who told me that he would, and I've talked to him about this a couple of times. He said he would certify me, but I have to go someplace where it's warm. And I said, well, let's do it down in Florida. And you know who that is? That's Tony Sampson from the Curse of Oak Island.
There you go.
And I told him, I says, well, you may have some fun stuff to do down there. If I could get you down there to dive on some cannons, would you do it? He goes, hell yes.
Oh, that's right up his alley. So
yeah,
listen, you're invited, and whoever you bring is invited. You know this. You've been with us, and we appreciate the help. And we couldn't do a lot of the things that we've done yet without you, actually. So. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you including me. I really, really do.
Lastly, before we close out, got to give a special shout out to Dennis Hearns, the dowser from.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Dennis called me. Yeah, Dennis called me, and his brother lives in Zephyr Hills.
Yep.
About 30 miles east. He called me and said, "I'll give you guys 2 days if you're interested." I said, "Heck yeah." Dennis spent a day with us at the park. Then he spent another day with us on the boat, and he gave us
park
at Anclote.
Okay.
Dowsing, and then he gave us another day on the water, and gave us not 1, not 2, but 11 structures to check out.
Wow!
And we have it on tape. I haven't posted it to YouTube yet, but the scary part about Dennis was, he had me go southeast of the channel. I said, well, there's 14 feet of water in there. And he said, yeah, okay, get me there. I need you over here. So I go over there, and I go where he's going. He goes, look at your bottom finder. Look at your down view. You should see it right about now. Boom, there it was. We all looked at one another and went, whoa.
That's pretty, yeah. I've got a video of him actually out in the field working with
He did it 10 more times.
Wow.
We marked them all. Just put a C in front of it, and I saved them on my GPS.
Wow.
11 hits. Just unreal, that man.
What's the next step on those? You got to dive on those?
Yeah, we have to dive on them. But what we're going to do, that's a really neat shallow water day, is we'll drop the camera down and take a look. It's only 15 feet of water.
There you go. Perfect.
But the water's too cold for me. I need, at least 75 degrees for I'm going to get in it. It's when you live here, it's completely different than, Lake Erie, when I grew up, if it got to 72, the lake was like bathwater. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But down here, it's like, in there, it's too cold.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I've got some pictures of him too. I actually videoed him while we were metal detecting at an event, and I actually videoed him. I had him on my podcast, and I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. Would that be out in Texas, that event?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Because that's the one I left when I left Florida. I went out there. Yeah.
He told me he gave him a metal detector or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, and I got video of him actually doing his thing in the field. So yeah, that was good stuff.
He really knows what he's doing. I will give him that.
It's one of those things that people will go. That people will poo-poo it because they're like, oh, it's all witchcraft. That doesn't exist and everything. But he does have results.
He does. And there's something else that I will tell you off the air that I can't tell you about him on the air.
I think you told me on the phone.
Did I? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, that was the first day. And when he did that, and you don't repeat anything of what I told you, because there could be problems there. But But again, when I saw that, I said, I will never doubt you. I mean, how would he know? None of that was on film.
Right.
No one knew where that was but me, Michael Gattuso, and my neighbor. And that's it. And Mike didn't tell him. He'd have no way of knowing. Unreal.
Yeah, that is.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up. I thank you for the time, and I'll be in touch with you, obviously.
Okay. Semi-retired right now, so
Okay.
I'm enjoying it. So I got time. So if something comes up and you've got some stuff, I'm heading south.
Okay. Sounds
All
good.
right. All right.
All
See
right.
you.
Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye-bye.